welcome to a new episode of Osprey Observer TV, bringing you ever closer to the community, an ever-changing community, which is part of what we're going to be talking about today. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of a nerd about the game Sim City, where you get to kind of control all the aspects of building and growing a city. Well, here's somebody who I think I might have some of that fascination in common with. Marie, well, go ahead and introduce our guest today.
Well, I am super excited to introduce our guest. Our guest, we actually met over Facebook, and it's because as we're learning about the community and seeing what's going on in the community, this page, Bokors Corner, just kept popping up as a wealth of information as to what is coming soon, what those yellow rezoning signs mean on the corner. Brian started sleuthing out exactly what they mean and which businesses were trying for the rezoning. A lot of times we'll call a business and we'll say, hey, we hear you're putting a location in our community. And they'll say, oh, wait for the press release. We don't have to wait for the press release because Brian gets the information about 2 years in advance when they file a permit. And so suddenly I said, hey, you have got a wealth of information. I need that knowledge in the Osprey Observer. Please come. Write stories for us on interesting zonings and business things in our community. And in 2019, he agreed with his wealth of information and his background to join our team. So he is a freelance writer for the Osprey Observer. He runs a super successful Facebook page, and he's in the know of everything coming to our community. Brian, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. That's very nice, Marie. Thank you very much. Hey,
so what?
Nice to meet you too.
Oh.
Thank you.
Of course.
I've never met him, so
Brian.
Anyway, so that I'm not sure if I can live up to that introduction, but I'll try to. Yeah, basically, I started my page in 2014. It's called Bokors Corner. It's on Facebook, and it was started because I had a yellow rezoning sign in my backyard. So basically, everybody's probably seen one or two of these around in the ground, but I happened to walk by one and taking my dog for a walk. And I looked at the numbers on there. There's rezoning numbers and there's phone numbers. And I just really started digging around to try to figure out what the rezoning numbers actually meant. And basically that led me down a long path of basically finding new things that are going on in pretty much Brandon, Riverview, Sun City Center, Ruskin, and Apollo Beach. I try to cover just southeast Hillsborough. And what I really try to do is, if you have a yellow rezoning sign, you can contact me and ask me what that yellow rezoning sign is all about. I'll do the research for you and I'll send you an email back, or I'll contact you via Facebook. No problem at all. No charge, obviously. I just think it's important for our neighbors and our community to know what's being built around us. It's as simple as that. There's a lot of construction that's going on that don't have any signs up. But basically, the first sign of construction, if you don't see the yellow rezoning sign, you're going to see those black silt. You'll see trees coming down and then a black silt fence. But in neither of those cases does it say what's being built, who's building it, is it going to be retail, commercial, residential? It's just a complete guess, actually. And I don't want my neighbors not knowing what's being built next to them. And being in the real estate business, I'm an appraiser, my wife's a real estate broker. It's important for us to know what's being built in neighborhoods around the area, so that at least if people want to buy there, they know what is coming and not be surprised by a new Aldi's or a new Chick-fil-A or something that happens, 6 months after you move in. So
well, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but those yellow rezoning signs that created that curiosity in 2014, is that project now just currently under development?
The project, the start of the whole thing is it's called the Burnham Gardens. And it's an age 55 qualified income qualified property. It's right on the corner of Belshows and Bloomingdale. It's basically right in the Shrimp Boat parking lot behind the Shrimp Boat and the green boutique, that parking lot. And so in 2014, when I walked across this sign and I saw what was being built, as soon as I saw Section 8 low income apartments, those are three things that would set anybody's, interest off. And so knowing that was being built basically in my backyard, I just had to follow up on that. Now, it turns out these Section 8 low income were actually age 55 qualified people. They turned out to be the nicest neighbors I've ever had.
I was going to say, that's a huge need in our community. I'm actually kind of glad there's a brand new place for them, because that is a high need in our community. We want our grandparents to be able to continue to live near us. And a lot of times their income is restricted with their pensions and their Social Security. So, and it's in a nice walkable neighborhood. So I kind of like that. But you're right. When you see Section 8, low income, you're immediately kind of your shackles go up and say, hey. But it's not an easy thing to educate yourself on how to delve through the DOS, vehicles that the county has available for search engines. It's not simple. And so you really provided a service to our community that, hey, you'll delve in and you'll find out what it is. And on your page, I know you have a search bar where people can actually search and see if you've historically discussed that project before they even ask you about that rezoning. But what's helpful for you when people have a question, because they'll say, hey, what's going on at the corner of Bell Shoals and Bloomingdale? Would it be better if they sent you a picture or got the number at least off of that sign?
Yeah, basically anything. The most important things, and once again, feel free to ask any questions. The most important thing is the location, and really a map. A map for me visually works a lot better than Bell Shoals and Bloomingdale. It's just, being an appraiser, I look at things on a map basis, and I can tell you pretty much what's being built where. So if you've got a question about anything, honestly, if you can just go to any Google's map and do a screenshot, kind of highlight the area, circle the area, anything like that tells me exactly where you want me to search. It makes the search a whole lot easier. And really, I really appreciate it. I mean, a lot of people think it's kind of a burden asking me these questions, but it's not, because it also helps educate me, because I'm in the business of real estate. And there's a lot of things that I don't know that's going on that people in other areas do know what's going on. So honestly, if you see something that is new to you, especially new, if you've been in the area for a long time and you see new things change, that's the stuff that I'm really interested in. Marie did mention on the Facebook page, Facebook does have a search engine up there. And basically you just have to put Bokors Corner - Riverview or Brandon or Apollo Beach, or I always start the post with Bokors Corner / the name of the city. So if you're looking for the name if you're looking for a project in Riverview, it's always Bokors Corner / Riverview. Same with Apollo Beach, same with Brandon. So that's kind of a way to whittle the search down a little bit. But honestly, I know Facebook doesn't have a great search engine. So if you can't find it after searching, just DM me, shoot me an email, and I'll be glad to try to help you out.
I mean, maybe second to having a political Facebook page. I can imagine that some of the information you disclose gets quite controversial, and the posts get quite heated. But again, I'm a huge fan of transparency. I don't feel that enough people know what's going on in their community, especially at the local level, especially with something as important as rezoning. What would you say has been maybe and it doesn't have to be the most controversial, but maybe the biggest development in our neighborhood, in our area, that you feel has drawn the most attention to your page all these years?
Sure. Well, I can tell you right now, currently, the big one is Apollo Beach and US 41 and Waterset. That whole area, they are building. They have approved rezoning for something called a single tenant super store discount center with a garden. Basically it's a Walmart, but they don't want to say it's a Walmart, so they name it something else. But it's anything really US 41 and Waterset, Big Bend, US 41.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I live. I mean, I live in Covington, right there on Big Bend, and between 41 and 75, and it's unbelievable, because it seems like every day there's a new project popping up. But as you mentioned, I don't think a lot of people realize that these projects don't pop up overnight. I mean, these are years in the making if you know where to look, right?
Right. Yeah, it all starts with that rezoning sign, really, and typically from the time you see that rezoning sign go up till something's actually built, it could be 24 to 36 months. I mean, that's how far in advance these rezonings take. With that Walmart, a lot of the US 41, that was all tomato farms. That was all basically historic. That was a lot of tomato farming areas. So in order to convert a pasture of tomato farms into a super center, it's a mighty long process. So if you want to get involved from the beginning, you really have to do it at the rezoning time, because once rezoning is approved, that project will go through. So there's
Yeah.
definitely windows that you have to work in. The rezoning window, usually you have about 6 months. You have actually when the yellow sign goes up, you've only got 1 month. So when that yellow sign goes up,
Wow.
it's a 1 month kind of tip off that the meeting that the county is going to be approving or denying is going to happen within 1 month. So as soon as you see that yellow sign, you want to go ahead and take the RZ number down, and that's the information that you'll need if you want to oppose or be on the side of the project. So you can actually be against the project or for the project.
That's a really great
Good.
point, Brian, is from the time the yellow sign goes up, typically residents have 1 month to get engaged and have an
Right.
opportunity for public comment. Beyond that time, the wheels have started and there's no more public input required or accepted on that project. And some of these projects, the rezonings were done 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And so if you see a project breaking ground and there's no yellow sign, it's because it was approved many years ago and they're just now fulfilling what was given long ago. So
And that's exactly what Jonathan, the question, John, that is the number one right there, Jonathan, is a project that was approved 6, 7, 8 years ago that all of a sudden breaks ground right next to you. And you're going, well, hold on, you didn't have anything to say about this. But the time to say something was basically in 2016. So that is a really frustrating part of the rezoning process. If you don't catch that rezoning at the right time in the process, you're kind of shut out. And once the stamp goes down on that rezoning, it's pretty much approved, and rezonings don't go backwards. Once the land gets rezoned to a certain use, it doesn't revert back. It won't, it can't. Because there's a lot of money spent on rezoning of land. Now, that's not to say that every rezoned piece of land gets developed. Sometimes Waterset's another great example. A lot of Waterset was actually rezoned in the 80s and 90s, but due to economy and just basically due to developers not wanting to follow through, that land sat for almost 25 to 30 years, approved but not developed.
wow.
And
Well,
those are the kind of things. Those are the kind of things that the community. It's and I feel it. I mean, you should know what's being built around you. And if this was approved 10 to 15 years ago, and you just don't have the opportunity to actually voice your displeasure with it, that is a difficult situation. So,
well, you would hope. I mean, you would hope or want maybe there to be like some sort of policy where if the development doesn't start within a certain time frame, then the rezoning debate window, I guess, has to get reopened before the actual start of the development date. You know what I mean? Like, I think in an ideal world, I mean, I think, that would, because it actually leads into a very specific question, which I think this is one of the few podcasts where we can get this specific, but that parcel of land that we, in that area we're talking about, Big Bend, between 75 and 41. I remember when I first moved here in 2006, they were saying that there was going to be a shopping mall that was going to go into that space. Obviously, that land still sits undeveloped, even though the growth has been so massive on the other side of it. Is that still dormant, or might kind of what the status is on that property?
I do actually. That's the South Shore Commons Mall. It's basically, that would be considered the southwest corner of Big Bend and I-75. Right across from East Bay.
Yep.
And that was supposed to be a really nice outdoor walking mall with a theater and a bunch of restaurants and a bunch of small cafes and shops. And once again, this was in 2007. And when things happened in 2007 and the economy took that dive in 2007 and 2008, the Great Recession, I guess they call it, the developers never picked up on it again. Now, why it has set vacant this long, I don't think anybody quite knows for sure. I think part of the reason is Amazon. I think Amazon has taken over a lot of the malls, and since that parcel was actually zoned to be a mall, I don't think developers and malls are really working together as much these days. Yeah. So I think the use that was approved in 2007 is not the use that need it in 2023. And so you
I
got a
mean-
big problem with a piece of land that's been rezoned for one thing, but now that one thing isn't really the best use anymore.
I mean, Brandon Mall obviously still kind of has peaks and valleys in terms of traffic, but I'll tell you, Ellington, is a ghost town. Ever since
Is
they
it-
opened
is that-
up. Oh yeah, ever since they opened up the Tampa Bay outlets up in Wesley Chapel, they lost a lot of tenants, and the majority of that kind of outlet mall traffic has now gone north. And Ellington again has a lot of vacancies, and traffic wise is nearly a ghost town. And so, that coupled on top with what you were just saying, the online commerce space has just exploded, really eliminating the need for a mall. I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I went to a mall with the intent to actually buy something. It's usually maybe, just something to do. Let's go walk around or let's go to a restaurant. But no longer is it I have to go buy X. Let's go to the mall because I can order it from my phone and it'll be on my front door the next day.
I think we could actually talk for hours. I think there's no end to the opportunities to dip into Brian's wealth of knowledge.
Yep.
But we're trying to do a short podcast, so we can't talk all day. But what I want to say is on the editorial side, Brian, you've brought a great aspect of new news for the Osprey Observer. I remember how excited you were when you brought us the Auto Enclave that, is going to be so amazing for car enthusiasts to have private garages with a racetrack. And then also on the Riverview Marina, you were the first one to tell us about that because you had that knowledge. So we'll keep sharing these stories with the Osprey Observer as long as you're willing to write them with us. And then we've had the opportunity to send you to a few things on our media credentials to make sure we were represented. So you're a great member of the Osprey Observer team, Brian. We're going to keep allowing you to share that information with our community. And then we'll probably need to revisit this podcast about once a year and give an update to the community and remind them that Bokors Corner is the place to be. How can they find your page, Brian?
Sure. If anybody that has a Facebook or uses Facebook, it's Bokors Corner, which is BOKORS space corner, CORNER. That's the Facebook page. It's the page. There's no fee to join. It's completely free. That's where you can find me. And if you want to ask me a question, please go ahead and DM me with a map and the question. I'll be glad to get back in touch with you as soon as I can.
Well, thank you. You provide an excellent service. I think actually you could probably do a little class at the library on how to navigate those yellow rezoning signs. It's a very specialized skill that you have. But thank you, Brian, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, John. Nice to meet you.
Hey, thanks for all your hard work. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.